What if I told you the secret to lasting happiness has been within you all along? Imagine freeing yourself from the endless cycle of stress, letting go of what no longer serves you, and embracing a sense of peace that remains unshaken by life's challenges. Rooted in ancient Buddhist wisdom, these 13 powerful lessons will guide you to live with mindfulness, compassion, and purpose. They're not just teachings, they're a way to transform your life and uncover a joy that no one can take away. Curious? Let's begin this profound journey to true happiness together. Lesson 1. Value the present moment. Buddhism teaches us that the present moment is the only moment we truly have. Too often we dwell on past mistakes or worry about things that haven't happened yet, which causes unnecessary stress and anxiety. But life doesn't happen in the past or future. It happens right here, right now. By learning to embrace the present fully, we stop letting time slip away, and instead we begin to experience each moment with clarity and appreciation. Practicing mindfulness helps us become more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, allowing us to connect with life as it is, without judgment. This brings a deep sense of peace, because when we let go of the need to control everything, we realize that happiness is always available to us in the present moment. Lesson 2. Let go of what you can't control. In Buddhism, we learn that much of our suffering comes from our desire to control everything around us. Whether it's the actions of others, the future, or circumstances beyond our control, trying to hold on to things that aren't ours to control only leads to frustration and anxiety. Instead, Buddhism encourages us to practice acceptance and recognize that life is full of uncertainty. By letting go of the need to control the uncontrollable, we free ourselves from the burden of worry and resistance. This doesn't mean being passive or indifferent. It means focusing on what we can influence: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. When we release the need for control, we find peace in the flow of life, trusting that everything unfolds as it should. Lesson 3. Gratitude changes everything. In Buddhism, gratitude is considered a powerful practice that can transform our outlook on life. We often focus on what we lack, what went wrong, or what we wish we had, which can lead to dissatisfaction and discontent. However, by shifting our focus to what we have and expressing gratitude for the small blessings in our lives, we open our hearts to abundance. When we practice gratitude, we begin to see the beauty in everyday moments: the warm sunlight, the kindness of others, the simple act of breathing. Buddhism teaches us that contentment arises not from accumulating more, but from appreciating what we already possess. Gratitude helps us break free from the cycle of desire and comparison, bringing us closer to inner peace and joy. Lesson 4. Surround yourself with positive people. In Buddhism, the concept of Sangha, the community of like-minded individuals, holds great importance. It reminds us that our environment, especially the people we surround ourselves with, has a profound impact on our mental and emotional well-being. When we spend time with people who uplift, inspire, and support us, we naturally feel more connected, positive, and at peace. On the other hand, being around negativity, judgment, or toxic behaviors can drain our energy, increase our stress, and pull us away from our true selves. Buddhism teaches that we are deeply interconnected, and the energy we give and receive influences our happiness. Positive relationships not only bring joy and love into our lives, but also act as a mirror, reflecting the qualities we wish to cultivate within ourselves, such as kindness, compassion, and mindfulness. By nurturing relationships that align with our values, we create a supportive foundation for personal growth. It's also important to be mindful of the energy we bring into our relationships. In Buddhism, we are taught to practice loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna, toward others. By embodying these qualities, we naturally attract like-minded individuals who will encourage us on our spiritual path. Surrounding ourselves with a positive community helps us to grow in wisdom, overcome challenges, and maintain peace of mind in the face of life's ups and downs. The people we choose to surround ourselves with can either lift us up or weigh us down, so it's essential to choose wisely, fostering connections that nurture our happiness and spiritual growth. Lesson 5. Invest in experiences, not things. Buddhism teaches us that attachment to material possessions leads to suffering. We often chase after the next new thing, whether it's the latest gadget, a bigger house, or a more impressive status symbol, thinking that it will bring us happiness. But in the end, these things are temporary, and the joy they bring fades quickly. Instead, true happiness comes from experiences, connections, and moments that enrich our lives in deeper ways. When we invest in experiences, we're creating memories that can never be taken away. Whether it's traveling to a new place, spending time with loved ones, or dedicating ourselves to a spiritual practice, these experiences help us grow, learn, and evolve. Buddhism teaches that the essence of life is impermanence, and everything material will eventually fade away. But the wisdom, love, and joy we gain through meaningful experiences stay with us and shape who we are. Experiences allow us to live more fully in the present moment. When we immerse ourselves in activities that bring us joy or teach us something new, we step away from the distractions of the material world and reconnect with what truly matters. In Buddhism, it's said that happiness is not something you acquire, it's something you cultivate through mindful living. So, instead of accumulating possessions, focus on gathering moments of connection, growth, and love that will fill your heart and soul for a lifetime. Lesson 6. Failures are lessons in disguise. In Buddhism, failure is seen as an integral part of the path to wisdom, not something to be avoided or feared. Suffering, including the disappointment or pain of failure, is inevitable in life, but it is not something that must define us. The Buddha himself endured trials and setbacks before finding the path to enlightenment, and it was through these struggles that he gained the insight to share with the world. Rather than seeing failure as a roadblock, Buddhism teaches us to recognize it as an opportunity for self-reflection, growth, and transformation. When we fail, we often experience feelings of shame, guilt, or frustration. However, Buddhism teaches us that these feelings are not helpful if they lead to self-blame or negative self-talk. Instead, we can approach failure with compassion and mindfulness. In Buddhism, self-compassion is key, treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend in times of difficulty. By accepting our failures without judgment, we can gain the space to learn from them and develop the patience and resilience needed to move forward. Through failure, we also deepen our understanding of impermanence. In the grand scheme of life, no success or failure lasts forever. Everything is in constant change. When we grasp this, we can view failure with less attachment and more clarity, knowing that it is a temporary state that can lead to something greater. Failures often show us new paths we had not considered before, teach us important lessons about ourselves, and reveal areas for personal growth we might otherwise have missed. Failure also teaches us to let go of the ego. In Buddhism, we are reminded that the self is not a fixed, permanent entity, but a fluid and evolving process. Our sense of self-worth should not depend on external outcomes. When we release our attachment to success and status, we can approach challenges with a more open heart, unafraid of making mistakes or facing setbacks. Every experience, whether a success or a failure, is an opportunity to cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Failure helps us develop resilience and perseverance, qualities that are deeply valued in Buddhist practice. Life is full of ups and downs, and the path to happiness is not always smooth. When we fail, we are given the chance to practice these qualities by picking ourselves up, learning from our mistakes, and continuing on with renewed wisdom. It's through this process that we develop the mental fortitude to face life's inevitable challenges with grace and peace. In the end, failure, when viewed through the lens of Buddhism, is not something to fear or avoid. It is an opportunity for growth, a chance to learn and evolve on the spiritual path. When we shift our perspective on failure, we stop seeing it as a negative event and start viewing it as a valuable lesson, one that can help us uncover deeper truths about ourselves, others, and the impermanent nature of all things. By embracing failure as a teacher, we open ourselves to a life of greater understanding, compassion, and peace. Lesson 7. Your health is your wealth. In Buddhism, the mind and body are seen as interconnected, and maintaining a healthy balance between the two is essential for overall well-being. The Buddha himself emphasized the importance of health, teaching that physical and mental wellness are necessary for spiritual growth and enlightenment. Without a healthy body, our ability to practice mindfulness, meditation, and other teachings becomes limited. The body is the vessel that carries us through life, and it deserves our attention, care, and respect. Our modern world often prioritizes external achievements, material success, and productivity. But Buddhism reminds us that without health, these things lose their value. True wealth is not measured by possessions or status, but by the well-being of our body and mind. When we are physically unwell, it's difficult to maintain the clarity and peace necessary for spiritual practice. Therefore, nurturing our health becomes an act of honoring our journey, our purpose, and our path toward enlightenment. Buddhism encourages us to adopt practices that support our physical health, such as mindful eating, regular movement, and enough rest. Just as we take time to meditate and practice mindfulness for mental clarity, we should also engage in activities that nourish the body. Eating balanced meals, staying hydrated, and finding physical activities that bring us joy. The body is not a burden or something to be neglected. It is a sacred temple that enables us to live and experience the world. Buddhism teaches us to practice moderation. It's easy to fall into extremes, whether it's overindulgence or neglect, both of which can harm the body. The middle way, a central teaching of Buddhism, invites us to find balance in all aspects of our lives. By practicing moderation in eating, exercise, and rest, we can maintain a healthy body that supports our mental and spiritual growth. In addition to physical health, mental health is just as vital. Buddhism teaches that the mind shapes our experiences of the world, and mental clarity is essential for happiness and peace. Practicing mindfulness helps us cultivate awareness of our thoughts and emotions, allowing us to let go of stress, anxiety, and negativity that can affect our health. Meditation, in particular, is a powerful tool for calming the mind and restoring balance, helping us to manage difficult emotions and thoughts with more ease. When we prioritize both our physical and mental health, we create the foundation for a life of greater peace, happiness, and spiritual fulfillment. In Buddhism, taking care of our health is seen not as a selfish act, but as a necessary one for living a life of purpose and service to others. After all, if we are not healthy, we cannot fully engage with the world, support our loved ones, or contribute to the collective good. By nurturing our health, we empower ourselves to live our best lives, both for our own benefit and for the benefit of those around us. Lesson 8. Simplify your life. In Buddhism, simplicity is a powerful practice that leads to greater clarity, peace, and happiness. The Buddha himself lived a simple, modest life, focusing on what truly mattered, the pursuit of wisdom, compassion, and liberation from suffering. In our modern, fast-paced world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the constant barrage of distractions, responsibilities, and material desires. Yet Buddhism teaches that true happiness doesn't come from accumulating things or striving for external achievements. It comes from simplifying our lives and focusing on what is essential. Simplicity allows us to free ourselves from the clutter and noise that cloud our minds. When we simplify our environment, whether it's through decluttering our physical space, minimizing unnecessary commitments, or letting go of excessive desires, we create more space for peace and mindfulness. A clean and organized space supports a calm and focused mind, which in turn allows us to be more present in our daily lives. Buddhism encourages us to be mindful of our attachments. The more we hold on to material possessions, relationships, or outcomes, the more we experience suffering. Simplifying our lives involves letting go of the need to control or accumulate, and instead embracing a sense of contentment with what we have. This doesn't mean we have to give up everything, but rather that we become more intentional about what we choose to keep in our lives. Simplification also extends to our mental and emotional well-being. In Buddhism, we are taught to let go of unnecessary worries and distractions. By practicing mindfulness and meditation, we learn to quiet the mind, reduce overthinking, and focus on the present moment. This mental clarity allows us to let go of mental clutter, such as negative thoughts, anxieties, or attachments to the past, and create more space for peace and joy. Another important aspect of simplifying life is prioritizing our time and energy. Buddhism teaches us to live with intention, focusing on what truly nourishes us and letting go of what drains us. This could mean saying no to obligations that don't align with our values, cutting out distractions that keep us from our goals, or prioritizing activities that foster our personal growth and well-being. By doing so, we create more time and energy for the things that matter most: our spiritual practice, meaningful relationships, and personal fulfillment. When we simplify our lives, we reconnect with the essence of who we are. We are no longer caught up in the pursuit of external validation or material success, but instead find contentment and peace in the present moment. Buddhism teaches us that happiness is not something we can achieve through accumulation or achievement. It is something we cultivate by letting go of what no longer serves us. When we embrace simplicity, we create space for the true joys of life: inner peace, mindfulness, and connection with others. Lesson 9. Practice self-compassion. In Buddhism, self-compassion is not just about being kind to ourselves. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, embracing our imperfections, and treating ourselves with the same care and understanding that we would offer a dear friend. The Buddha taught that suffering is part of life, and this includes the suffering we bring upon ourselves when we are harsh or critical of our own mistakes, flaws, or shortcomings. Instead of judging ourselves for our perceived failures, Buddhism encourages us to approach ourselves with love, understanding, and patience. Self-compassion is essential for mental and emotional well-being. When we make mistakes or face challenges, it's easy to fall into self-criticism, but Buddhism teaches that self-judgment only deepens suffering. By practicing self-compassion, we give ourselves permission to be imperfect, to learn from our experiences, and to approach life with a gentle, open heart. The Buddha's teachings on mindfulness and loving kindness, known as metta, invite us to extend compassion not only to others but also to ourselves. One of the core aspects of self-compassion in Buddhism is acknowledging our feelings without judgment. Rather than pushing away negative emotions or pretending they don't exist, we can sit with them, observe them, and allow them to pass naturally. This mindful awareness enables us to deal with our emotions in a healthy way and prevents us from getting caught up in spirals of self-blame or guilt. By simply acknowledging our feelings, whether they are sadness, frustration, or disappointment, we can move through them with more clarity and less suffering. Buddhism also teaches that we are all interconnected, and that includes our struggles. In our moments of pain, it's easy to feel isolated, as though we are the only ones experiencing suffering. However, self-compassion reminds us that our pain is part of the human experience. When we show compassion for ourselves, we also acknowledge the suffering of others and develop empathy. We are all vulnerable to hardship, and by treating ourselves kindly, we learn to treat others with greater compassion as well. This creates a ripple effect of love and kindness in the world around us. An important part of practicing self-compassion is taking care of our needs, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Buddhism teaches us the importance of self-care, whether it's taking time for rest, nourishing our bodies with healthy food, or engaging in practices that bring us peace, such as meditation or nature walks. When we care for ourselves in these ways, we are honoring the gift of life and showing gratitude for the body and mind we have. By prioritizing our well-being, we can better serve others and live more fully. Self-compassion also allows us to release perfectionism. Buddhism teaches us to embrace imperfection as part of the natural world. Everything is in a constant state of change, and we too are evolving beings. When we let go of the need to be perfect, we can free ourselves from the pressure to meet impossible standards. Instead, we focus on growth, learning, and cultivating kindness toward ourselves, no matter where we are on our journey. Practicing self-compassion leads to greater peace and happiness. When we treat ourselves with love, patience, and understanding, we open the door to healing and self-acceptance. Buddhism reminds us that happiness is not about being perfect or flawless. It's about embracing ourselves as we are, with all our imperfections, and loving ourselves through every moment of our lives. Lesson 10. The power of giving back. In Buddhism, generosity is considered one of the most important virtues, not only for the benefit of others, but also for our own personal growth and happiness. The act of giving, whether it's through time, resources, or kindness, helps cultivate a spirit of compassion, gratitude, and interconnectedness. Buddhism teaches us that true happiness comes not from what we accumulate, but from how we share with others. By giving, we open our hearts and minds, reinforcing the understanding that we are all connected and that our well-being is interdependent on the well-being of others. Giving back doesn't always require material wealth. In fact, Buddhism emphasizes that the most profound acts of generosity often come in the form of time, attention, and love. Offering a kind word, lending a helping hand, or listening with a compassionate ear are all powerful ways to give that can transform both the giver and the receiver. The Buddha himself taught that even the smallest act of generosity carries great value, as it creates a ripple effect of goodwill and fosters a sense of community. When we give, we let go of attachment and ego. We are reminded that the things we possess are temporary and ultimately not the source of our true happiness. By practicing generosity, we cultivate a sense of non-attachment, knowing that the more we give, the less we are tied to the material world. This frees us from the constant desire to accumulate more, and we begin to experience the freedom that comes with letting go. Buddhism also teaches that giving fosters empathy and compassion. When we give without expectation of receiving anything in return, we practice selflessness and expand our capacity for love. Through acts of generosity, we strengthen our connection to others and recognize their shared humanity. We are reminded that everyone has struggles, and that by supporting one another, we create a sense of collective healing. Giving back is not just about making others feel better, it also deepens our own sense of purpose and fulfillment. The power of giving is also linked to the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect. In Buddhist teachings, we are reminded that the energy we put into the world, whether positive or negative, returns to us in one form or another. By practicing generosity, we create positive karma that can bring peace and joy into our lives. The more we give with an open heart, the more we receive in return, not necessarily in material form, but in the form of inner peace, satisfaction, and meaningful relationships. Giving back also teaches us humility. In a world that often values individual achievement and success, generosity reminds us that we are not alone on our journey. We rely on others, and others rely on us. By helping those in need, we acknowledge the interconnectedness of all beings and move away from the illusion of separation. This shift in perspective allows us to see life as a shared experience, where the happiness of one contributes to the happiness of all. In Buddhism, giving is seen as a path to spiritual liberation. When we practice generosity, we break down the barriers of self-centeredness and ego. We learn to live for the benefit of others, creating a life that is rich with meaning and compassion. The act of giving back, no matter how small, creates a positive impact on the world and nourishes our own hearts, bringing us closer to the happiness and peace that lies at the core of Buddhist teachings. The power of giving back is transformative. It not only helps others, but also nurtures our own spiritual growth, teaching us the true essence of interconnectedness and compassion. By giving from the heart, we cultivate a deeper sense of joy, contentment, and fulfillment, lessons that can guide us toward a life of true happiness. Lesson 11. Learn to say no. In Buddhism, the practice of setting boundaries is not about rejecting others, but about honoring our own needs and protecting our energy. Saying no is a powerful tool for preserving mental, emotional, and physical well-being. The Buddha emphasized the importance of living authentically and not allowing external pressures to dictate our lives. By learning to say no, we reclaim our time, our peace, and our true sense of self. It is an essential practice for creating balance and avoiding the burnout that comes from overcommitting or people-pleasing. Saying no can be difficult, especially when we fear disappointing others or feeling guilty. However, Buddhism teaches us that we are not responsible for meeting everyone's expectations or solving everyone's problems. Just as we are encouraged to cultivate self-compassion, we must also recognize that it is okay to put ourselves first when necessary. Saying no is an act of self-care. It allows us to protect our own well-being and to conserve our energy for the things that truly matter to us. Learning to say no is also an exercise in mindfulness. It requires us to pause and reflect before reacting to external demands. When we say yes automatically out of habit or a desire to please others, we are often acting on autopilot. Mindfulness helps us slow down, tune into our inner wisdom, and make decisions that align with our values and priorities. By being present with ourselves, we can discern whether a request is something we truly want or need to say yes to, or if it's something we need to respectfully decline. Buddhism teaches us the importance of non-attachment, and this includes non-attachment to the approval of others. Many of us struggle with saying no because we fear rejection or the loss of relationships. However, attachment to others' opinions can lead to suffering. When we are overly concerned with pleasing others or overextending ourselves, we lose touch with our true needs and desires. By saying no, we practice detachment from the need for external validation, allowing us to live more authentically. Setting boundaries helps prevent resentment from building up. When we say yes to everything, we often feel overwhelmed and frustrated, which can lead to negative feelings toward others and ourselves. By learning to say no, we avoid overcommitting and preserve our energy, making it easier to engage in the relationships and activities that truly bring us joy. Buddhism teaches that balance is key. By respecting our own limits, we create space for healthier and more fulfilling interactions. Saying no also encourages us to be more intentional with our time. Our lives are limited, and every moment is precious. By learning to say no to distractions, obligations, or requests that don't align with our goals or values, we prioritize the things that nourish us and support our growth. This focus helps us live more purposefully and ensures that we are investing our time and energy in what truly matters. In Buddhism, the concept of right action is central to the path of the Eightfold Path. Right action involves making choices that align with our values, promote harmony, and avoid harm. Learning to say no is a vital part of right action. It helps us avoid actions that cause harm to ourselves or others through overextension, resentment, or misalignment with our values. By saying no with mindfulness and compassion, we act in alignment with our higher selves, creating a life that is more balanced, authentic, and peaceful. Learning to say no is an act of self-respect and self-love. It allows us to honor our boundaries, protect our well-being, and live more authentically. In Buddhism, this practice aligns with the teachings of moderation and balance, helping us avoid the extremes of overindulgence or neglect. By learning to say no, we make space for the things that truly bring us peace, joy, and fulfillment, leading us closer to a life of lasting happiness. Lesson 12. Pursue your passions. In Buddhism, the path to true happiness is closely linked with the concept of living a life of purpose and meaning. The Buddha taught that to find inner peace, we must align our actions with our deeper values and desires. Pursuing your passions is not just about doing what makes you happy. It's about engaging in activities that resonate with your true self, bring you fulfillment, and help you grow spiritually. When we follow our passions, we cultivate a sense of joy that arises from within, not from external validation or success, but from living authentically. The Buddha emphasized that true happiness comes from within, and part of this internal fulfillment comes from living a life that feels meaningful to us. When we pursue our passions, we tap into a deeper sense of purpose, and this alignment between what we love and what we do brings a profound sense of peace. Whether it's a creative endeavor, a career that resonates with your values, or helping others in a way that speaks to your heart, following your passions allows you to express your unique gifts and talents in the world. In Buddhism, there is a concept known as Dharma, which refers to our true path or purpose in life. It is believed that each individual has a unique path they are meant to follow, one that aligns with their inner nature. Pursuing your passions is a way of walking your Dharma. It's not about success in the worldly sense, but about fulfilling your purpose in a way that feels aligned with your soul. When we live in harmony with our true nature, we experience a deeper sense of satisfaction and peace. Sometimes we may feel disconnected from our passions or unsure of what they are. Buddhism teaches us the importance of self-awareness and mindfulness in uncovering our true desires. Through meditation and mindful reflection, we can quiet the noise of external expectations and tune into our inner wisdom. This process of self-discovery helps us recognize what truly excites and motivates us, allowing us to align our lives with what brings us the most joy and fulfillment. Pursuing your passions also requires courage. Buddhism teaches that attachment to comfort and fear of failure can hold us back from pursuing our true calling. The path of the Buddha is one of courage and resilience, and this includes the courage to pursue what we truly love, even when it feels uncertain or difficult. By overcoming our fears and doubts, we free ourselves from the limitations we place on our own potential and we open up to the possibilities that come with following our hearts. Buddhism also encourages us to approach our passions with detachment. This doesn't mean we stop caring about our passions, but rather that we practice not becoming overly attached to the outcome. Whether we achieve success or face challenges along the way, our happiness should not be dependent on external results. The true reward of pursuing your passions lies in the journey itself, the joy of engaging in meaningful work, the growth we experience, and the sense of fulfillment we gain from living authentically. Another important aspect of pursuing your passions in Buddhism is the balance between personal growth and the greater good. The Buddha taught that our actions should not only benefit ourselves, but should also contribute to the well-being of others. Pursuing your passions in a way that serves both your personal fulfillment and the collective good is a powerful way to align with the Buddhist values of compassion and interconnectedness. Whether your passion involves helping others, creating art, or advancing knowledge, you are contributing to the world's greater harmony. Pursuing your passions is a form of self-expression and a way to honor your unique gifts. Buddhism teaches us that every individual has something valuable to offer, and when we follow our passions, we contribute to the collective good and our own spiritual growth. By embracing what we love and living authentically, we align ourselves with our truest path and experience a deeper sense of joy, peace, and fulfillment. Through this practice, we can unlock a profound sense of happiness that arises naturally from living in harmony with who we truly are. Lesson 13. Happiness is an inside job. In Buddhism, happiness is not seen as something external to be sought after, but as an inner state of being that arises from within. The Buddha taught that true happiness comes from cultivating a mind that is free from attachment, aversion, and ignorance. It's not about having more possessions, achieving more success, or seeking constant pleasure. Instead, happiness is the result of inner peace, mindfulness, and understanding the true nature of reality. When we look inward and cultivate qualities such as compassion, wisdom, and equanimity, we naturally experience a deep sense of happiness that is not dependent on external circumstances. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the concept of dukkha, or suffering, which reminds us that external conditions, whether good or bad, are temporary and ever-changing. In the same way, external sources of happiness are fleeting and can often lead to attachment, craving, and ultimately suffering. Happiness that relies on external factors, such as money, relationships, or status, is always at risk of being taken away. The Buddha encouraged us to seek happiness that is unconditional and independent of the ever-changing circumstances of life. To cultivate inner happiness, Buddhism teaches us to practice mindfulness and meditation. These practices help us become aware of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, allowing us to break free from patterns of suffering caused by our attachments and desires. By training our minds to focus on the present moment and let go of distractions, we develop the clarity and wisdom to see things as they truly are. This awareness helps us recognize that happiness is not something to be chased, but something that arises naturally when we are at peace with ourselves. Buddhism also teaches the importance of self-compassion in the pursuit of happiness. Often, we are our own harshest critics, constantly judging ourselves and striving for perfection. However, true happiness comes from accepting ourselves as we are, with all our strengths and flaws. By practicing self-compassion, we cultivate a kind and loving relationship with ourselves, allowing us to experience a sense of peace and happiness that comes from within. Another key aspect of finding happiness within is letting go of attachment. The Buddha taught that attachment to people, possessions, and even ideas can cause suffering because these things are impermanent. When we cling to anything in life, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment, as all things are subject to change. By learning to let go of attachment and embracing impermanence, we can free ourselves from the constant cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. This doesn't mean we stop caring about people or things, but rather that we learn to appreciate them without becoming dependent on them for our happiness. Equanimity, or the ability to remain balanced in the face of life's ups and downs, is another key practice in Buddhism for cultivating inner happiness. Life is full of challenges, and the ability to maintain a calm and steady mind, regardless of external circumstances, is essential for lasting peace. When we develop equanimity, we stop being swept away by emotions like anger, fear, or jealousy. Instead, we cultivate a deep sense of acceptance and inner stability, no matter what happens around us. This inner balance brings us true happiness that is not dependent on external events. Happiness as an inside job means realizing that we are responsible for our own well-being. No one else can give us happiness, and no external circumstance can take it away. By practicing mindfulness, letting go of attachments, cultivating self-compassion, and developing equanimity, we can create a mind that is at peace and full of joy. When we learn to look inward and nurture our inner world, happiness becomes a natural byproduct of our spiritual practice. In the end, the most profound and lasting happiness is the happiness that arises from understanding and living in harmony with the true nature of our minds. As we come to the end of these 13 powerful lessons, remember that happiness is not a distant dream. It's something you can cultivate right here, right now, with every thought and action. Through the wisdom of Buddhism, we've discovered that lasting happiness comes from within, shaped by how we choose to live, think, and love ourselves and others. If you've found these lessons helpful, I invite you to dive deeper into the teachings of Buddhism with me here on Buddhism Pathways. Each step you take on this journey brings you closer to inner peace and fulfillment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on more insights that can guide you on your path to happiness. Together, let's continue exploring the beautiful, transformative power of Buddhist wisdom. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, may your heart be filled with peace and your life with happiness.